Happy New Year, everyone! We are currently in the year of 2017, but I still have some things to talk about the year 2016, mainly the movies that I have seen but didn't get time to review. And there's quite a handful of them. This is something that I do every year. Every time I get to the end of the year or the beginning of the new year, I look back at all the movies that I've seen. If there's any that I have seen that I didn't give reviews of, I use this time to give micro reviews on each of these movies. And again, I got a handful to talk about, much more than last year, so let's jump right into it. The first movie I want to talk about is Hail Caesar, which is the Coen brothers' latest movie, and focuses on a Hollywood star in the 1950s, played by George Clooney, as he suddenly disappears and it's up to the studio head, played by Josh Brolin, to try to figure out what happened to him. The Coen brothers always make fantastic movies. I just saw The Big Lebowski for the first time last year, and I absolutely love it. But they always make really great movies. So I was really excited for Hail Caesar, and I'm sad to say that I was kind of disappointed. I mean, it's not awful. I wouldn't say it's downright bad, but it just doesn't have that same level of greatness that True Grit, Inside Llewyn Davis, No Country for Old Men, and Big Lebowski had. I mean, it's got really great performances, even if all of Scarlett Johansson and Jonah Hill's scenes are in the trailer. And the cinematography is really good, as it always is in Coen Brothers movies. But I felt the plot was a little too convoluted, and they bring up a bunch of subplots that kind of lead to nothing, and sometimes they're trying to be for a laugh. Didn't really find them all that funny, so this is a Coen Brothers movie that really disappointed me. So I would say watch this at your own risk. Next up we have Peewees Big Holiday, which is the first Pee Wee Herman movie in God knows how long, and it's a Netflix exclusive movie. This movie pretty much follows Pee Wee Herman as he's invited to a celebrity's birthday party, and leaves town. Basically, it's kind of a repeat of Pee-wee's Big Adventure, except nowhere near as good. Because I love Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Pee-wee's Big Adventure is one of my favorite Tim Burton movies out there. You just watch it and there's just so much to love and admire about it. This movie, not so much. I mean, Paul Reubens does a good job as Pee Wee Herman. He's still somewhat very likable and innocent. But there's a lot of things in this movie that just do not work, that Tim Burton managed to get right in his movie. Two things that really bug me about this movie is that, one, Pee Wee Herman is living in this old 1950s neighborhood, and for some reason when you leave it, it's suddenly the present day. It's just really weird why they would do that, especially since they never really did that in the original movie. And there are just some points where it's just downright creepy and unfunny. The celebrity whose birthday party he's invited to is that of Joe Manganiello, hope I pronounced that right, who's going to be Deathstroke in Ben Affleck's Batman movie. And for some reason, he has this weird fetish with Pee Wee Herman, almost like a romantic couple scenario, because it mostly comes off as if he's going to do unspeakably dirty things to Pee Wee Herman. That's the impression I got. So I just didn't really enjoy this movie at all. I found it completely unfunny, really uncharismatic at points. Paul Reubens is still entertaining as Pee Wee Herman. I can't hate the character, but everything else around it is just, it didn't leave me feeling too good. So don't waste your money on this. I mean, I know it's ironic considering it's a Netflix movie and you really don't spend money on the movie. So I'm saying that as more of a grade. Don't waste your money on it. Next up is Popstar. Never Stop, Never Stopping. Yeah, that's the name of the movie. I had to look it up on my phone. But this movie stars Andy Samberg, and it's pretty much like a mockumentary about the Lonely Islands. You remember back when he was on SNL and he would do those digital shorts? Well, sometimes he had a band that he was a part of called The Lonely Island. They did such classic songs like, I just had sex, and it felt so good. You know, those guys. So this is sort of, in a way, a Saturday Night Live movie. And it was a surprise for me. When I saw the trailers for it, I didn't think it looked all that good. I thought it was kind of dreadful. And apparently, because it bombed, it didn't work for other people either. Which is a shame, because I actually found this really funny. Maybe in that crude, stupid sense, but I've laughed. The two things that really made me laugh hard were the TMZ spoof that they do, where Will Arnett is playing the head honcho at TMZ, which is so weirdly accurate to how that piece of shit show actually works. Like, those people there are crazy. And then the other thing was, to my surprise, a penis joke, because I don't laugh at dick jokes. I just think they're mainly there for shock value. And it's like, okay, I'm not shocked anymore. We all know what a penis looks like. It's natural. But this one made me laugh because, you know how you always hear or see that women will flash their boobs at pop stars? Well, the context of this joke is that there's a fan of Andy Samberg's character who's flashing his penis, and he wants Andy Samberg to sign the penis. And it's just something that made me laugh hard because it's so, like, disturbingly funny that you can't help but laugh, but it's also a scenario that I always thought would happen with real pop stars. They gotta see a lot of women flash their boobs. How many guys do you think flash their junk at them? A couple, you think? Maybe I'm thinking about this a little too hard, but not to drag things out. Popstar Never Stop Never Stopping was actually pretty amusing, considering that the trailers were not very good. Good, but not great. Next up we have Lights Out, which is a horror movie produced by James Wan, which follows this family whose house is haunted by an evil ghost that follows the mother, but only appears when the lights are out. Kind of a cool concept, and whenever there's a horror movie that has James Wan's name on it, I'm usually very curious to see it because horror movies today are for shit. Unless, of course, his name's on it. That's not to say all of them are bad. You'll get some really good stuff like It Follows. But mostly when his name's attached to a horror movie, you're going to get something, at worst, decent. And this one's pretty decent as well. The cast does a really fine job. There are some intense, thrilling moments to it. And I do like how it can be a metaphor for crazy people, because the mother, played by Maria Bello, does act a little crazy at points because of this spirit. And the overall movie is just kind of how a family would deal with someone crazy in their life. But the one thing that I have a problem with is the ending. I do not like the ending of this movie, because if this movie is supposed to be a representation on how families with a crazy person handle it, the ending is not a very positive outlook, because it ends with Maria Bello deciding, you know what, the spirit is going to haunt my family forever. I'm going to kill myself, and that will kill the spirit. And she does that. And I'm just like, what kind of message is that sending for that scenario in real life? Like, it's better to have somebody who's crazy in your family commit suicide. That way you'll all be better off. That's not good at all. So, despite the ending, there were a lot of enjoyable things out of it, and it's also very short. I think this movie might not even reach a full hour and a half, because it went by fairly quickly. So, good but not great. It could have been great if they had come up with a much better and kind of less insulting way to end the movie. I don't know. It's a tough one to call, but I'd say this is one of the better horror movies out there. Next up is 9 Lives. Where the fuck do I even begin with this movie? Everyone's talked about it. Kevin Spacey as a talking cat. How does this movie exist? How is this a real movie? Well, I saw it, and yeah, it is a real movie. When I saw the trailer for it, or when screw that. When I heard the concept of this movie, I thought it was a joke. Then when I saw the trailer, it's like, oh, this is some Netflix movie that they're gonna bury. This is just one of those bullshit Netflix movies. How Kevin Spacey is in it is beyond me, because apparently he's doing very well in House of Cards. But the thing that made me go, oh my god, this is real, is when I found out that it was being released in theaters. Everything that trailer is sums up how bad this movie is. It's extraordinarily bad just based on the fact that Kevin Spacey is the lead role as a talking cat. I thought we moved past these kinds of movies. But other than that, it's just bad. It's awful. It's awful. But it's not like the #1 worst movie of the year like so many other people are saying it is. At least in my opinion. But some of the things that really stick out is the fact that the movie looks so fake. There are points where it looks like they green screen interiors. Like they were so cheap that they couldn't even build actual physical sets. And the CGI they use on the cat looks like a piece of shit. It is Scooby-Doo level bad, where you look at that and go, How did this piece of shit come out the same year as The Jungle Book? Where you look at other CG cats like Bagheera and Shere Khan, those things look incredible. And then you have this piece of shit that looks like it came out 20 years too late. Why? So, I mean, I don't have the strong hate for this movie, and to be honest, I don't think it's gonna really be a cult movie like The Room or Birdemic. I don't think it's that bad. And I think the only reason people are really talking about it is just because Kevin Spacey is in the lead role. Other than that, don't waste your money on it. I don't hate this movie, because when I hate a movie, when I have burning anger, I tell a movie to go burn in hell. This one, just don't waste your money on it. It's not good at all. Next we have Kubo and the Two Strings, which is the latest movie from Laika, the same company that made Coraline, Paranorman, and The Box Trolls. Now, I'm going to say something controversial right off the bat. I have not liked much of Laika's movies outside of Coraline. I actually hated Paranorman, all because of the main character. I just really thought the main character was annoying. And The Box Trolls was just very mediocre. I mean, I'll give Paranorman credit that it's more creative, whereas Box Trolls was just bleh. So I was hesitant about Kubo and the Two Strings, but I was wanting to like it. And I really like this movie. It's not my favorite animated movie of the year, but it is really good. The stop-motion animation is absolutely stunning. It's very creative. I love how it has a touch of Japanese culture within it, sort of like what Moana did with Polynesian culture. And there are points where it's just very emotional, and just a beautiful, beautiful looking movie all around. Even though I like movies like Moana and Zootopia better, I will admit that this one is a little more adult than those two. Definitely worth seeing in your lifetime. I think I might like this a tad more than Coraline. It's hard to say because I've only seen Coraline once, and that was when it came out in the theaters, so I might need a little time to reflect on that, but Kubo and the Two Strings, I really dug. I really like this, and I wouldn't mind seeing it again. Next up, we have Amanda Knox, which is a Netflix documentary about the infamous murder of a college student back in 2007, where this woman named Amanda Knox and her then boyfriend were accused of the murder. I had no actual knowledge of this story because it came out in 2007, in a time when I didn't really focus on real-world stuff and politics. But watching this documentary is really eye-opening and hard to watch, mainly because I can't imagine a scenario where somebody you were really fond of gets murdered and you're suddenly accused of that murder. It's difficult to watch, and one thing that really caught my attention with this movie is that the Italian detective who was the one tasked with this case is a horrible, horrible human being. If you do not like cops in America, just wait till you see this detective. Because this guy skews evidence and tries to make things up in order to make the case he's solving seem more dramatic and to make him out to be more of the hero. It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. And it was a really difficult documentary to watch. It's really kind of intriguing, so I definitely say check it out. Worth seeing in your lifetime. Next up we have Cafe Society, which is the latest movie from Woody Allen. Woody Allen can be hit or miss. I loved Midnight in Paris. Absolutely loved it. It was one of my favorite movies the year it came out. But I hated Blue Jasmine. I know that was the movie where Cate Blanchett won her Best Actress Oscar, and I know a lot of other people love it, but Blue Jasmine just irritated the hell out of me, and I despise that ending. That ending for Blue Jasmine killed the whole movie. And this one, I don't hate it as much as Blue Jasmine, but it's not a good movie at all. It's very predictable. There's not really much going on. It's not all that interesting. Jesse Eisenberg is awkward to watch when he has to play Woody Allen, which I'm getting sick of Woody Allen making movies where he's not the star, yet the male lead plays Woody Allen. It's a little old. Jesse Eisenberg is just awkward to watch. But the best I can say about his performance is that at least he's better here than he was as Lex Luthor in Batman vs. Superman. And then the other performances are fine. Kristen Stewart starts off to be good, but then as time goes on, she just kind of gets very bland. Not bad like in Twilight, but just not good either. And for some reason, there's always this orange glow whenever the movie's set in LA. Now, I'm going to assume that this movie wasn't shot in LA because We do not because unless it's sunset, LA is not that orange. It's just weird and it takes me out of the movie. So this is one I don't hate. I wouldn't recommend this either. This is just one of the weaker Woody Allen movies. Don't waste your money on it. Next up is Hacksaw Ridge, the latest movie from Mel Gibson, who hasn't directed a movie in a long time, and basically follows this soldier played by Andrew Garfield, who enlists in World War II, but does not want to carry a gun. Instead, he wants to be a medical officer, and his true courage is tested during the Battle of Hacksaw Ridge in World War II. When this movie was coming out, I was thinking, you know what, this is a cool trailer, but I'm not really looking forward to it because Mel Gibson has just kind of been crazy this past decade, so I didn't know how that would affect my opinion. I'm glad to say that it didn't because this movie is absolutely astounding. It's one of the more intense movies I've seen this year. Andrew Garfield is phenomenal in this movie. He gives an Oscar-worthy performance, and the last hour of it is just nail-bitingly intense. There are just some scenes in here where I'm just like, or, oh my god. And I know that I've seen Saving Private Ryan and Rambo, so the violence is really not that different from those movies. It still makes me squirm. If I had any problems with this movie, it's that the opening I didn't think was very good. It just was too Oscar baity and a little too sappy for my taste. But once Andrew Garfield comes in, then that's when the movie picks up. And I always love to see a movie that starts off on a whimper and then ends with a bang. This really is an incredible film. You cannot go without seeing Hacksaw Ridge. Worth seeing in your lifetime. At last, there's Lion, which is a movie that follows Dev Patel, who, as a boy, lost his brother and mother in India and is adopted by this Australian family. Years go by, and he suddenly wants to find his true home and where exactly he came from. I heard literally nothing about this movie when it was coming out. Didn't see a trailer, knew nothing about it, didn't see a poster, so I went into this completely blank, with an open mind, and this thing is really one of the best movies of the year, to be honest. It's emotionally powerful. The performances are really great. It's intense. It's that movie like Schindler's List and 12 Years a Slave, where you watch it and go, this is a fantastic movie in every aspect, but I am never watching this again. I will say, though, in its defense, it's not as depressing or dark as Schindler's List or 12 Years a Slave, because it does end with a very optimistic and happy ending. It's an ending that, if you're not crying or at least feeling emotional, then you have no soul. You just are heartless if you don't cry at the end of this movie. Out of all the Oscar-type movies I've seen this year, this is the movie that seems like it deserves the Best Picture win because it's that emotional. Will it win? Probably not, because I think La La Land will take it, but that's just my opinion. So Lion is a movie that's definitely worth seeing in your lifetime if you're into these Oscar movies. So that does it for all the 2016 movies that I've seen but didn't review. There's obviously more movies that I have yet to see, like Manchester by the Sea, Hell or High Water, Jackie. There's a ton of movies that I still want to see, but those are just some of the movies that I saw but didn't review. Tomorrow will be my top 10 worst movies of the year, then the next day will be my best of list. So until then, I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a comment down below and tell me what your thoughts are on all these movies that I talked about. And as always, this is the real Mr. Robinson telling you there is only one.